Does it become more sweet and more beautiful? It happens every single day in the cannabis community. We have more good people with good hearts working with the same cause. There's always going to be those bad apples, and you just got to dust yourself off, realize that all in for the long term, because we want to leave our planet better for the little ones. So if not now, when?
Welcome to the Well with Cannabis podcast, a show dedicated to telling the life-changing stories of those who live well with cannabis, all while teaching you how to do the same. Meet your host, Emily Kyle, a registered dietitian nutritionist turned certified holistic cannabis practitioner. Emily changed her life for the better with the help of the cannabis plant, and now she is committed to helping others do the same. Tune in each week to hear heartwarming stories and gain the knowledge you need to feel connected, inspired, and supported on your own cannabis journey. Whether you're a new cannabis consumer or a lifetime lover, you'll benefit from these uplifting tales of real-life journeys that will show you how you too can live your best life well with cannabis.
Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to share a note on potentially sensitive content. The episodes on the Well with Cannabis podcast are created for adult audiences only. We will at times cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, sex, drugs, alcohol, psychedelics, and the obvious use of plant medicine. Explicit language may be used occasionally. Please refrain from watching or listening to the show if you're likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. The information on this show is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice. If any of the content on this podcast has brought up anything for you, please reach out or speak to a professional or someone you trust. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast. I am so excited to have a very special guest here today, Mr. Craig Zaffe from Hemp For Life Wellness. Welcome, Craig. Thank you so much for joining us.
Emily, I have to tell you, can't thank you enough for being for who you are.
You're so kind.
Having the podcast, I know that, I followed your newsletter for a while.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything you're doing for the community and educating everybody. So, I'll give you a little bit of background on who I am, what I'm about. I'm 72 years old.
You look fabulous.
My philosophy is I got to be in better shape next year than this year.
Yeah.
So staying healthy is a full-time job.
Yes.
So I have a degree in agronomy, which is the science of soils.
How cool. Oh my gosh, what a benefit.
I started technically it was the very first organic landscaping company in New York State, 1973. I introduced organic landscaping and edible landscaping.
Whoa. Oh, fun.
So I've always been an educator. I was trying to educate people that the outdoors is not the living room. You have to realize that there's progression of nature. You have a lawn, it goes through a natural progression. Nature wants to change. You want to come along, you want to stop that natural progression. The lawn wants to go into the field wants to go into the pasture wants to go into the woods. You come along, we want to have a monoculture, one type of plant life. And everybody's obsessed with having one type of plant life. They don't want any clover, the most beneficial plants. God forbid they have crabgrass. And to use all this horrific cancer-causing chemicals. I had some of the most educated people, but when it came to their lawn, they had no common sense, even though their wives had breast cancer, their animals had leukemia. They refused to give up chemicals. So I used to say, listen, you got to put on a different pair of sunglasses. Keep your head up. Don't look down. Don't get so crazy. So I've always, I was in lawn cutting for many years. I never bagged grass clippings. Put everything back in. I used all mulching machines. Shredded all the leaves. Nothing left the property. Always improve what you use. And also, I've used cannabis for my whole life. I've been using cannabis since 1966. Before you were born.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Cool. I started growing full-time in 1987-88.
Wow. You have a lot of wisdom.
And I've spent a lot of years just educating myself. Now, as we know, Cannabis has been the most persecuted plant on the planet. More people have been sent away to jail, more blacks, Latinos, minorities, more lives have been ruined because of racism, capitalism. So I always want to get involved with, medicinal marijuana, but it was so restrictive. You're from New York also.
Yes.
It was just so difficult. LIJ, which is one of the largest hospitals, a couple of years ago, they applied to get a license. They were rejected. So I had an opportunity to get involved with CBDs. So I figured, get my education. We all read the book, There's No Clothes, Jack Herer. So many uses to cannabis and hemp. As we know, it's the first domesticated crop. It's been used for the history of mankind. It's part of our own DNA. We all have an endocannabinoid system. Who knew?
I mean, I feel like every time someone finds out, they're like, what? I didn't know. You didn't tell me.
And again, since there's never any funding because there's been a war on drugs and cannabis especially. And if you wanted to get funding to prove that it was a gateway drug, they give you hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you want to prove about the benefits about using cannabis, you get no funding.
No.
And as we know, a lot of changes happen in the 80s and the 90s with the research with this endocannabinoid system. We all realize all life forms, all animals, all people have this incredible system in their body. I say it's the commander-in-chief of all the regulations in our body. We have 12 body systems, including the endocannabinoid system. And the whole purpose of the endocannabinoid system is how many states balance of internal health. So by incorporating cannabis in your life, not only do you heal yourself, you heal the planet. So it's a win-win situation. So my goal has always been to educate people, and, I've been smoking cannabis since 66. I smoke it all day. I grow, passionate grower. But marijuana is not for everybody.
Yeah.
The CBDs are. And then if people can use CBD-rich, flower.
Yeah.
Or, I educate people about the differences between different types of cannabis. You have the high resin cannabis. People want to get stoned. To me, cannabis is more about getting high. We all like to get high. We all like to feel good, but there's so much more to that plant. People have to realize that the 25,000 uses, everybody can be involved in one part of that plant. And everybody wants to grow it because you touch that plant. I believe your husband grows it.
We were awarded a cannabis cultivator's license last year, and we only grew 10 plants, but we've grown it. It's amazing.
Having the license to grow, you're so regulated. Every seedling has a barcode.
Yes.
That's the time that seed germinates, which is still such a beautiful thing to watch.
Yes, my favorite.
Just unfolds. Oh my God. You have to track that plant until the shelf.
In full transparency, I'm not sure that I'm going to actually grow this year because the regulations are so insane and it's just not really in line with what I'm doing at this time.
But you do make edibles, right? You do sell canna butter and everything else. So you have
to
source to make your products.
Yes. That's the cat and the mouse game, and you know how it goes. It's just the regulations are crazy.
Listen, I want to educate people, domains, grow your own homegrown cannabis and cannabis. I do set people up, cannabis gardens. I help out, friends who have cancer, families, and everything else. Me, it's always about the education, because once you're educated, you make educated choices. This is without all the side effects. Because I have to tell you about, we're in a health crisis.
Yeah.
Everybody's obese. I mean, they don't know genetically. We're still tied to the hunter-gatherer genetics. Now, no one gets off the couch. When they went to school for the medical degree, they went to school before 1994. They didn't learn about the endocannabinoid system. So as soon as you mention the word cannabis in health, you know. So the education is the key. So my whole thing, take the time, educate people so they make the right decisions, proactive with your health, get off the couch. You are what you eat. There's a relationship with your gut and your brain. People don't realize that you eat all this sugary processed food. It overtaxes your CB1 receptor, which is the reward receptor. That's why you always feel good. You have something sugary, something processed food, you want more. The overtaxing receptor operates CB2 in it, in life. I mean, which omega-3, quiet down the CB1 receptor. Turn on the CB2 receptors in your gut. I always go to CBD, projectcbd.org, because it's all about educating yourself. Every day there's something else. And again, I mean, you're still young. I'm 72. It takes a little bit longer to absorb something, especially what medical conditions do you have? Where to use it? I mean, I've been waiting my lifetime to get to this point with cannabis.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about Honeysuckle Magazine. Almost Magazine. Give me one moment.
Ooh.
They have their CBD and merchandising, but
Yep.
that's something I also recommend everybody just to check out Honeysuckle Magazine.
How fun. I gotta write that down.
Have their pulse on what's going on. And then people they bring in, the connections, every seed grower around the world, credentials. He had his own cannabis network radio. You know, my boat came in. Turns out he was a fraud. Fortunately, he stole, $100,000. My other partner died.
Oh, so sorry.
I lost everything at age 70. But thank God I can still do hard labor. I picked myself up. I believe in the plant. Dusted myself off. Rebuilt the business. I started Hemp For Life Wellness. I've been involved with a lot of former athletes. I met years ago Marvin Washington, who was a former Super Bowl player, and I don't know anybody in football other than Joe Namath growing up as a kid. But through Marvin Washington, I met a lot of Jets. So I did the SAC exchange one summer camp at the Jets. Gave them education on CBDs. I met this Reggie Grant, who's a former football player. He reached out to me a couple of years ago. He wanted to start a CBD line, work out. We kept good connections. And just this past year, decided to jump in and join forces with me. So I'm very blessed to have Rachel Grant, who's just an incredible human being, join forces. So I think 2023 is going to be a very good year for Hemp For Life Wellness.
It's so exciting. Now, for our listeners, please explain a little bit more about Hemp For Life for Wellness, what you're doing, and who you're serving.
Well, basically, Hemp For Life Wellness, we have incredible products. Our products are made in an FDA-regulated facility with good manufacturing practices. We have a tinctures. We have an AM and PM tincture, 2 different terpene profile. One for days more energizing, based on basically Blue Dream terpene profile.
Yeah.
We have a PM for sleep, Granddaddy Purple terpene profile. And we have our famous sports cream. We have a 2 formulas, warm and cold. Since we have FDA-regulated ingredients, we are registered with the FDA. We pay a registration fee every year to the FDA since we use their products. And we're coming out back sports cream, which has 1,200 milligrams of CBD in it, and all the athletes love it. Now, unfortunately enough with Reggie, who's well connected in the professional athletes world, we brought on various brand ambassadors, former athletes to represent the company. We set up distributors across the country. We're in the process of raising funds from family and friends to just get new inventory, more marketing. But it's just, I think it's going to be great just having the right people on board. As you know,
Yeah.
somebody, as fortunate as Reggie, who's just an exceptional gentleman, gives so much back to the community. Right now he's doing a charity with golf in LA as we speak to raise money for various charities. Again, I'm just very blessed to have someone of his caliber join forces, Hemp For Life Wellness. And this year I'm going to be, teaching more people how to grow cannabis.
Hey, how are we going to do that?
I'm working with a couple different clients, and I also want to start a school. I'm still waiting to hear from the cannabis board. How do I do that and be compliant?
Yeah.
Again, where do we get our seeds and our clones from, technically? So again, now that fortunately you can buy seeds in the United States.
Yep.
Years ago, I get it from Spain, I get it from Amsterdam. Actually, I sent away for my first set of seeds back in 87. Came from Iowa.
Really? It's funny.
Money went to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
From Iowa.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Now, there's no legality against it. This is no THC.
Wasn't that a new court ruling recently that finally came down?
I would say the last 90 days.
Yeah. So if for anyone who's listening, there was I don't know if it was a gray area or if they straight up banned the sale of cannabis seeds, but the argument is that the seeds don't contain THC, so therefore there should be no reason that they should be illegal. And there was just a ruling. I didn't follow it very closely, but that did come out and say, yes, no, there's no THC in the seeds and that people should be able to freely have them without any legal consequence, which is super exciting.
I used to have it sent to my mother's house. I'll go to jail for Mom, I don't want you to go to jail for me. Now, but again, my goal is just give people the power.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to take charge of their health, and again, just have to get proactive. You're a nutritionist. You're everybody every day. You're walking the walk. You're gorgeous.
Thank you. You're right. It starts with the education. Without that, there's nothing.
Because for so many years, we've been fed a pack of lies.
Yes.
So many different levels, even to today.
Yeah, still.
Some of my own family members still refuse to use cannabis. Now, on, personal note, my wife had a very rare form of breast cancer years ago. I make my cancer cannabis tinctures, CBDs. We juice every day, supplements. She's okay. Last year we found out she had chronic leukemia. She's a head gardener for a Kuwaiti estate. She's been exposed to a lot of chemicals. She never used chemicals, but she's been exposed to it.
Yeah.
Again, the cannabis tinctures, CBD, mushroom extracts, juicing, hot peppers, and back to the doctor. White blood cell count came down. So people realize that cannabis and also mushrooms and so many different things that you can use to heal.
Man, I haven't even explored the world of mushrooms yet, but I'm like, I know it's just a whole nother door.
Also, a lot of people using psilocybin now.
Yeah.
For cancer.
It's amazing.
Microdosing. Mycelium is just incredible. Years ago I did, grow psilocybin mushrooms, which was an incredible experience. Whole different life form, but you realize that mycelium and fungus is so important for the well-being of the planet and ourselves. So again, education is the key. And also, we have to elevate the plant. We can't do a disservice to the plant. We can't be stupid. Americans, stupid. You have to use. We waited so long to this moment. We would have an educated conversation without being arrested.
Yeah.
Even though they close you down on Instagram, which is ridiculous. Listen, what you did,
Yes, exactly.
we didn't close down. We would have the pleasure of having a conversation, of many conversations to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, educating people to take charge of their own health, because you can't rely upon pharmaceuticals with all this. I mean, listen, even if you have to use the pharmaceuticals, cannabis is not going to be, elixir of life, which I call it. You still may have to rely upon Western medicine.
Absolutely. And that's okay. I always want people to know if you are using Western medicine and pharmaceuticals, if it's working for you, no shame.
Yeah, it's not a question of shame, but you can use both. And you have to also, people don't realize that CBD interacts with the cytochrome P450 liver enzyme. So that's where the education comes in. You have to educate people. You have to tell your doctor that you're incorporating CBD and cannabis in your life. So they may have to do a simple test. They may have to tweak your medication.
Honesty really is the best policy. I know a lot of people really struggle with being honest with their healthcare providers, but it should be a safe space. It's not like you can go to jail or be arrested. And ultimately, it gets you better medical care at the end of the day.
And also, let's talk about CBD and pets.
Yeah.
I mean,
So many people are turning to that as an alternative for their animals.
again, animals don't do well with THC.
Yeah. Perfect. Good. Glad you said that, because a lot of people don't know that.
They respond to CBD. I had 2 little min pins. A little spunky girl, she had a heart condition. They put her on opiates. Have to be on opiates for 2 months, not to mention the cost was a couple $100 a month.
Yeah.
She got dementia. She went blind in one eye. She was a hurting puppy unit. I put her on the CBDs. Within 2 weeks, I got her off her opiates. Like a horse. She was running around. She still, got stuck in corners like Mr. Magoo. And when she had seizures, it neutralized the seizures. So when she crossed over, she had a happy crossing.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm sorry for your loss, but I'm so glad that it was a good experience, at least in that way.
It's just so important. Again, people should realize how they're animals, because we'll spend more money on our animals than we do ourselves.
100%.
So CBD is a great beneficial health, because listen, most animals are fed crap. We are what we eat. Yeah. CBDs can help just take care of the inflammation in the joints. Have anxiety, especially around 4th of July or thunderstorms. Yeah. Looks just like for people. Tell people again, if you're caregivers, you should be using CBD.
Yeah.
Because you're under a tremendous amount of stress. If you go down for the count, it's going to pick you up. So, again, it's an incredible plant. I can't, I could talk.
I know.
It's just a wonderful thing that so many more people are getting involved.
Yes.
Cannabis communities get stronger worldwide. And and the beautiful part about cannabis, it's meant to be shared.
Yeah, it's very social. Yes.
All about, because you find the experience is much more enjoyable when you share it.
Yes.
You're in a safe spot. And if you're going to do edibles, and I know you have incredible recipes, people have to be very cautious when they do edibles.
Absolutely.
No patience. And if they don't have the dosing right, they can be in a lot of trouble, and especially if they're not home, if they're out on the street.
I always tell people, do it from the comfort of your own home. Are you crazy?
People have to realize CBD should be right there with you.
Yeah. CBD has helped me many a times when I have taken too much.
It's a phone call, I have to get in the car and drive, which I don't recommend. Been guilty of that our whole lives. But CBD, we just nudge that THC off the CBD. Okay. You never know. There's always that knock on the door. There's always that.
Yeah.
Always want to be in control.
It's amazing that you can have that control. And for anybody who's listening, if you've never heard this before, if you have consumed too much THC to the point where you feel unwell or uncomfortable, you can consume CBD on top of that, and it will help take that edge off and help you feel better and will undo a little bit of that high. So it's a great tip for people, especially if it's your first time taking edibles. Always keep some CBD on hand because it can absolutely make the biggest difference in your experience.
Lemonade.
Yeah.
Yeah, black pepper.
Yes. Yep.
Nutmegs, again. That's the word, fresh air. Quiet
Yes.
spot.
Yes.
It will pass. You're not going to die.
Even if it feels like it.
Some people, again, use your head.
Yeah.
Be smart about it. Don't give it a bad name. And enjoy it.
It's beautiful and perfect. The perfect way to transition. I want to be respectful of your time, but I want to ask you the same 4 questions I ask all of my guests. Are you ready? All right. The very first question I have, what are you most proud of in your life to date?
Basically, I guess starting the CBD business. I think being part of the cannabis community and family, you can't put a price to it. And you hear a mother tell you after you made a tincture for them, it's the first time their autistic child spoke. Or you have a friend who's dying of cancer. You make that transition so much. Wife, seeing the difference.
Yeah.
Before I woke up, she had a trigger finger like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before I kissed in the morning, I would have to pop it open. On CBDs for 2 weeks, what trigger finger? And my own self. I mean, I had numerous injuries in my life. I fractured my spine. Trees have been dropped on me. I do my whole life. Cannabis, the one time they gave me oxycodone after 3 days, I got dementia. I was constipated. I said, who would want to be on this? Copious amounts of cannabis. Didn't have CBDs at the time. But again, I think just being in the cannabis space, just meeting so many incredible people around the world, all working for the same cause, just realizing it's part of our DNA.
Yeah.
I mean, how, not to get so deep and esoteric, but, how did they do that? How did they do that? How did they, our star beans, work through our DNA? How did they plant the cannabis plant to be part of our DNA? All life.
Meant to be. That's what I think the beautiful part about it. It feels meant to be.
Yeah. And that's always how wonderful to be at this point in time. And we can share that knowledge. Everybody can enjoy the benefits of it.
Absolutely.
The repercussions of a sense of wellness, well-being. And that's a hell of a way to enjoy your life. Let's face it, we have more stress than ever before. Our planet, that's why cannabis is so important. Planting of hemp, restore this planet, it should be mandatory.
Yeah.
Everybody has a little crop of hemp. Get rid of that lawn.
Yeah.
Get those ornamental shrubs. In a crop of hemp.
Imagine how beautiful that would be too. Oh, everyone's gardens would be smelling so good.
And the birds would be singing.
Yeah.
37. Everybody had a phytocannabinoid rich diet. They fed all the.
Oh.
Even now, the farmers going back to incorporating hemp. That the cows are happier. The beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. And to flip on the other side, this question comes next. What do you think your life would look like without cannabis?
Oh, God, please.
It's everyone's least favorite question.
I could not imagine, honestly and truly. I don't think I'd be who I am. I mean, I grew up in the 60s. So, I'm the age of being a hippie, psychedelics. That whole era was just so magical, and most of us are happy we made it through. But I could not imagine. I'm sure my essence would still be the same. I got my grandmother's essence in me. I'm just sweet, but I don't. Everything would be different as my lifestyle. Hands would not be in the earth. It would be in the restaurant business. I love to cook. Yeah, I'm happiest when I'm cooking. I go out to my garden. I'm right to the stove. I don't think I would have the richness of my life without it. Certainly would know all these beautiful people I've met who become part of my family. And again, what better price can you give a gift of healing?
Priceless. It's absolutely priceless.
All right, that's the second question.
All right, number 3, and I don't know how applicable this will be to you because you've had cannabis in your life for so long, but the question for most people is if you could go back 10, 20, 30 years ago and give yourself a piece of cannabis-related advice, what would it be?
Don't be a stoner. Make stupid decisions. With many times when I was, way more than one toke over the line, and getting behind the wheel, psychedelic drugs, and still have no fear of getting in a car and driving. So those things, I look back, I must have had, divine angels behind me. But those things, again, that's why the education is try to educate the younger generation of don't be stupid. Don't make the mistakes that so many of us have made by using this plant-based medicine. Because we just saw it as getting stoned, being stupid, not really knowing how wonderful and beneficial this plant was. Because I grew up in an all-black neighborhood. I started everything very early. I started drinking at 13. I started working at 13. I took driver's ed drunk. And then I discovered marijuana. I stopped drinking and keep on smoking, but I don't drink. So that way, is very beneficial to first introduction. But again, we all made our mistakes when it came, and I'm hoping that we can have other people not make those same mistakes. Do it wisely, do it home in a safe environment. And also, again, the edibles. We have a problem with people leaving their edibles out. I'm not talking homemade. I'm talking people who go to the stores. So now we know it's rampant out there. You go to the bodegas, the smoke shops, and get edibles. The packaging is so child-friendly looking. The parents are making a mistake of leaving it out. Their little toddlers are eating it, ending up in the hospital. So I did a podcast 2 weeks ago on that. I said, please, you have to treat it like you have a gun in your house.
Yeah.
You can't leave it out, especially for the little ones. And I hold manufacturers responsible because they're all about making the money, and they don't realize the damage they're doing to the entire industry. Everything to be so harmless where it's not. So again, education.
Oh, it's perfect. And it leads us right up to our very last question. You could be remembered for just one thing in the cannabis space. What would it be?
Education. Taking the time to educate everybody about the most beneficial plant on the planet. End of story. It all begins with the plant, ends with the plant. This is part of us. The more people who realize how beneficial this plant is, incorporate it in their lives, their families, their parents, the grandparents, make sure that their children wait before they start to partake. Unless they have medical conditions, certainly with CBDs they can, but I don't recommend. Everybody thinks it's groovy. You can sit there with your teenage daughter and son and blow a couple joints. Well, I think they should wait because the endocannabinoid system is still developing. There'll be plenty of time to partake. And if your kids are in sports, any type of contact sports, they should be on CBDs.
Now, if people want to connect with you, where can they go? I know they can go to hempforlifewellness.com, and you also host a podcast show. Where can they learn more in all that you're doing right now?
I'm on YouTube. I'm Craig Zaffe. I'm the CBD guy, and my podcast is Everything CBD and More. So we do podcasts, and I used to do it with my good friend Reggie Grant, but he's in LA. So I finally learned how to navigate doing a podcast. I've come a long way. When I first started the business in 2016, I didn't know which way to point the mouse.
Hosting a podcast on your own, that's awesome.
Yeah, so again, it's just, I love just talking about the plant. I'm just taking the time. When I have customers call, I spend an awful long time educating them.
Yeah.
I said, listen, you don't have to buy it right now. Go to Project CBD, get educated. Come back, have another question. I'll spend the time because I'll have you for, a lifelong customer as your customer. You go there. It's not about the money. And you just want to heal and help people.
That's it. You just want, I just want, and I find most people just want everyone to feel as good as we do with cannabis.
Yeah. Again, be smart about it. And again, if you want to grow it, it's a wonderful plant to grow.
Yes. It's so beautiful and it's fun too.
It's so exciting. Listen, you plant that seed, all of a sudden, depending upon the variety, the conditions, it'll come up in 3 days. Sometimes you get some that'll take 12, 14 days to come. And you watch all the various stages it's going through. And then when you see that first have a female seeds, you see that first female flower show up. Oh my God. Weeks later, you see actual buds, and then you start to get the aroma of the terpenes. And then you out that old eyepiece, you look at it. Oh, okay, good. You harvest it. 3-4 weeks later, you get to enjoy it. You get to share it. What better gift than giving a friend, even a stranger, a bag of 100% organic flour?
Yes.
It's
beautiful. It's full circle for sure.
And no charge.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to give it just a gift from the heart, really.
Yeah, and listen, again, does it become more sweet and more beautiful? It happens every single day in the cannabis community.
Yeah.
We have more good people with good hearts working with the same cause. There's always going to be those bad apples. And you just got to dust yourself off, realize that all in for the long term because we want to leave our planet better for the little ones.
Yeah.
So if not now, when?
Absolutely. That's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I'm going to leave links so everyone can find your website, your YouTube channel, and your podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a fabulous conversation, and I can't wait for everybody to listen.
I hope we could do it again.
I do too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
Can't tell you from my heart. I appreciate the fact you let me talk.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Again, we're all working for the same cause.
Absolutely.
And what's better, righteous way to go through life than that?
And to share it with others. Again, thank you so much to have this conversation, share your experience, and I just can't wait for everybody to listen.
I'm going to listen too.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank your other half for having such a lovely ride.
I will. Thank you.
Congratulations. You've finished another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast and are one step closer to discovering how you too can live well with cannabis. Thank you for listening in today. We hope this episode has been a helpful and informative one. Please visit emilykylenutrition.com for more information on today's show notes, guest information, recipes, and other resources. If you want more support and encouragement on your cannabis journey, please consider joining the private Well with Cannabis community. In this group, you can connect with like-minded individuals focused on improving their health and wellness through cannabis. Join the group today to continue your journey of wellness together at emilykylenutrition.com.